Yes, people, welcome back to the SPTC Podcast. I, as always, am your host, Jay McIntosh, joined this week not by Mr. Simon Phillips, which is becoming very, very usual. He does know he's going to put his face on the website very soon.
Slacker.
A massive slacker. Yeah, if you can't, Lloyd, let's do intros first. We've got Lloyd Canfield from The Sun. Lloyd, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We can both just vibe on Sai being a slacker. Do you know what it is? It's that everyone who subscribes and listens knows, but Sai has a young child, as I'm sure you know, and therefore Sai can only record on Thursday afternoons. So at lunchtime at 12 o'clock. So if it's not 12 o'clock on a Thursday, he can't record. So we have to jump things around. But that's why Lloyd is here to keep us company and to talk us through some things this week. We do have some questions from subscribers as well that I will get to, but we've got a few things to talk about first. Lloyd, I suppose the first thing to start off with is maybe some detail about you and what you do, I suppose. To introduce yourself to the listeners and subscribers would probably be the nicest way to start.
Yes, I'm a Chelsea reporter for The Sun. I work closely with Dan King and Jack Rosser, so cover all of Chelsea's matches in some form. I'm normally I've been at every home game this season, unless I've been on holiday. Pretty much every away game apart from the European games. But obviously them I still watch. I'm also a Chelsea fan, so that maybe gives a bit of a different perspective from the other reporters that you'd usually follow along with and keep up with. I pride myself on being a Chelsea fan and the perspective that gives me when it comes to journalism. I don't kind of shy away from the fact that I'm a supporter as well as having a job.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that plays into my hands and sometimes it doesn't, but I feel like it's mostly a good thing, and hopefully people find me a bit more relatable than the usual kind of faces, I suppose, that you get used to seeing on Twitter and X and all these social media platforms. So kind of trying to strike a balance between being a journalist, being a fan, and trying to create some interesting content.
Yeah, that's understandable. Don't worry, mate. I often get told I'm a terrible Chelsea fan, so I'm sure you'll breeze through much easier than me. I think it's due to the fact I have affinities and loves for teams outside of the UK, so I often get told I'm a poor Chelsea fan, but that's fine. We can keep things moving. Well, talking of being a Chelsea fan, and I suppose having been a football journalist myself and a journalist more broadly, you have to try at some point to eliminate bias or try at some points to keep a lid on the emotional side of things. But how difficult was that for you watching Chelsea embarrass themselves against Nottingham Forest?
It's been difficult watching Chelsea since January.
Yeah.
This was, for me, particularly damning, and a particularly damning weekend in the sense that Arsenal were pretty much handed the title and then reached a Champions League final. Man City and Mark Gay practically gave it to them. Tottenham are now out of the relegation zone. It doesn't really get too much worse than that if you're a Chelsea fan. And the fact that Chelsea have scored one goal in the last 6 league games, of which all 6 of those have been defeats. The only goal was a consolation from João Pedro against Nottingham Forest reserve team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was so much talk when Villa played Spurs about sporting integrity and putting out a anti-competitive lineup. Well, Nottingham Forest put out an anti-competitive lineup and still smashed us.
Mm-hmm.
So, really it's a depressing result, but it's a result that for me sums up where Chelsea are at. It sums up all the issues that Chelsea have got from top to bottom, from front to back. It's a disaster.
Oh yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. For those watching, you can see that I'm drawing up on screen here just some top level pieces of data, I suppose. Sort of possession, 67%, 33% Chelsea's favour. Expected goals again in Chelsea's favour, only marginally at 2.15 to 2.05. Chelsea with 21 shots, only 2 big chances, whereas Forest had 6 shots with 3 big chances. Lloyd, the thing I want to draw your attention to, given you're at the game, is this momentum graph here. Now, I've returned to this momentum graph a few times on the pod. And I wanted to sort of see whether it aligned with what you were seeing at the game, which was, you can see here in the opening 5 minutes of both halves, Forest's momentum and intensity was super high, and then for the rest of the game fell off. Does that translate to what you saw in person? And did you feel as though the game, what did you feel as though Chelsea were lacking in the game? Because I find that if a team is consistently putting up a high XG, however, is failing to deliver on that or to capitalise on the points gain that you would expect with such a high XG, being the highest XG in the league, for example, that says to me that it's an issue with player quality. Given you said it's been difficult since January to watch Chelsea, do you agree that it's player quality that's letting Chelsea down? Do you think it's managerial issues? What do you think is going on?
Ultimately, I'm going to sound media trained here, but ultimately, it's never just one thing. It's a mix of all of those things that you mentioned. I think talking about this game in particular, I think the issues that have plagued Chelsea in this game are the same issues that have plagued Chelsea all season. You know, once again, they're dominant in terms of possession. Once again, they're beaten. Once again, they're outrun. I don't think it's necessarily an issue of quality players in the sense of the players on the pitch. There's definitely a few areas that need improving, but I think it's more of an issue of desire, of want to play and compete. And I think that is what Forest had that Chelsea didn't have. And I think that's what a lot of teams have had that Chelsea haven't had this season. It's a desire and a want to play for the badge, to compete at the top level. And I think when you actually look at the players that Chelsea have got, you know, for me, Reece James and Cucurella, maybe not right now, but a few months ago, we were talking of these two as the best fullback pairing in the Premier League. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez have both been mentioned in the same breath as some of the best midfielders in the world. Esteval is an amazing young winger. Cole Palmer, you know, he was sixth in the Ballon d'Or last year.
Yeah.
Like, João Pedro, 15 non-penalty goals this season, the player that arguably I think we've let down more than anyone else this season. These are not terrible players. They're not players that lack quality. You could argue left wing, they lack quality. Centre backs, they lack quality. Goalkeeper, maybe they lack quality. Even Sanchez, though, at times we've been saying, oh, Sanchez, what a brilliant goalkeeper. Club World Cup, we're saying he's turned it around. He's playing out of his skin. I think it's so hard to explicitly blame the players in terms of saying they haven't got the quality. What it is easy to see is that they're not showing that quality, and they're not, for me, they don't look like they're trying hard enough to compete. They're not trying hard enough as a team to play together and compete at the top level. And that also partly not only comes down to the players, but also comes down to the manager. And the choice of manager comes down to who's choosing the manager each time. At the end of the day, I find it starts from the bottom. There has to be accountability at the bottom. There has to be accountability for the players, for McFarlane. But there also needs to be accountability from the people that are choosing those players, that are choosing who's in charge of the team, that are choosing the people in charge of those in charge of who's choosing the team. So it all stems upward. But I think there's no culture of accountability at Chelsea Football Club anymore.
And we know some of you Chelsea board members listen to this show, so take notes, yeah, because we constantly at you guys every single week, and we know that you listen. Yeah, I agree with you, Lloyd. I think that's something. Do you know what I was thinking as you were speaking then? I think that one of the wholesale changes for the fan base over the last decade, and especially over the last 3 or 4 years, is when you think back to the Sarri days, and then you compare it to now, I feel as though the Sarri days, the fan base was the most disjointed it's been, for various reasons. And I look at things now, and I think actually, in a way, the fan base is the most united it's ever been, because standards have slipped so far. And I think you're right that it almost sits at the highest point, doesn't it? Because we know who makes the decisions. We know who who has the impact on the pitch. Yes, the players could try a bit more. It'd help if they ran a little bit more, I suppose, would maybe help just the optics. Not that I think that stat is particularly damning. I think there's ways and means around it, but it's not great, especially when you lose all the time.
I think that stat is shambolic.
See, the only reason I don't
it's
think
terrible.
the only reason I don't think it's the worst thing in the world is that it doesn't necessarily always indicate that the performance is poor. And it can very easily be used to exemplify that efforts are low. But like, I think there are points where, especially at the start of the season, when Chelsea were performing very, very well, and there was those early sort of conversations around title challenge and stuff where we were still running the same amount then and winning games. So I think there's been tactical shifts that have an impact. But I agree, when you move on from someone like Maresca into a different manager and Rosinha, I know he was trying to be tactically elegant, but obviously the players need to run more to counteract it. And yeah, I agree with you, it's damning, but I don't think it's the most. I actually think the league position is more damning than the running, to be fair.
Yeah, of course.
Which is very bizarre. You have the highest XG in the league, the lowest distance covered, and a weird league position. I suppose you mentioned there about decision makers. One of our paid subs called the Algerian says, "Hi guys, hope everyone is well. I have two questions, one regarding managerial search and if there's any leading candidates. The second question I'll come to a bit later on potentially. But I think this leads us on nicely to talking about managers, Lloyd, and I'm sure that it will have been a very, very busy time for you at The Sun, reporting about who's potentially going to join, be it Iraola, Xavi Alonso, Cesc Fabregas, John Terry, if anyone wants Chelsea to get worse, I don't know. What have you been seeing over at the Sun? And I guess stepping away from that as a fan first rather than a journalist, do you have a preference as to who you'd like to see in the dugout?
I'll start with who is a realistic candidate, because I've seen so much on Twitter, X, etc. So to my knowledge, the three leading candidates are Xabi Alonso, Andoni Iraola, Marco Silva. Beyond that, from what I know, there's no interest in anyone else. There's no interest in Xavi. John Terry is never going to happen. And beyond that, I mean, Lampard's not coming back. Tuchel's not coming back. Thiago Silva's not going to be the manager. So they're the three, in my eyes, somewhat realistic candidates. Of those three, I mean, Fabregas is the other one. Sorry, but he seems to have little to no interest in coming and managing Chelsea. And can you blame him? No. I think out of those three, if we're going to rank them, I would have Xabi Alonso at the top of that list, Andoni Iraola in second, and Marco Silva in third, because Xabi Alonso, for me, I think what Chelsea have missed massively is having someone in the dressing room that is an authoritative presence.
Mm-hmm.
Liam Rosinha was the antithesis of that, the total opposite.
Yeah.
He had absolutely no influence on the players tactically. I always come back to this point, right? That if you're Cole Palmer, or Enzo Fernandez, players who have won at the top level, Enzo Fernandez won a World Cup, and you have someone who is coached at a decent level, but not really done anything as a player, are you going to have them come in the dressing room and tell you how to play football?
If you're a World Cup winner and a former attacking midfielder from Hull City starts telling you what to do tactically, it's very difficult.
Yeah. Like what? Yeah. That's what I find difficult. Whereas if you're Enzo Fernandez and you have Xabi Alonso come into the dressing room, it's a different story. He can teach you things. You can learn from him. You will inherently respect the manager. And to an extent, I think that would be the same with Jose Mourinho. Again, I just can't see him coming back and working within the structure. So, same with Simeone also. I don't see the big names, if you will, the Simeones, the Mourinhos, I don't see them having the ability to work within the structure that Chelsea want. Whereas I think the kind of former players who have become somewhat successful managers, the likes of Xabi Alonso, they will be more open to working within the structure and still claim the respect of players and fans, albeit. Iraola, I have a lot of respect for Iraola. I think he's a really good manager, but he's another one I don't know if he's ready to take that step, i.e., Thomas Frank, etc.
Yep.
I don't know if he's necessarily ready for that. But I also do think there's something in it, like everyone is different. So you can't say just because Thomas Frank didn't work,
Yeah.
just because Liam Rossini didn't work, that Iraola wouldn't work either. Because to give him some credit, he's done incredibly well with Bournemouth, who have consistently lost their best players. There is a school of thought that hopefully that wouldn't happen at Chelsea and that he would be able to build on that. But again, I think I still don't know if Iraola commands the respect of the dressing room, and Marco Silva for me certainly doesn't.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see the Marco Silva stuff sort of so prominent. Like, I think he's done a really good job at Fulham. He's been there since 21-22. Other than his first season there, which is in the Championship, in the Premier League, he's basically averaging about 37% win rate, which I suppose is fine for Fulham. I don't actually know if he's done much that warrants him to get the Chelsea job. In a way, like, his consistency, I think, is very effective, and Fulham are a good club. And I think, he could probably manage at a slightly higher level than Fulham with respect to them. But I think the Chelsea job is not a leveling up job necessarily. This is why, Lloyd, I had someone on the podcast recently, and I said to them, I don't like the idea of English managers at Chelsea. And the reason I don't like that is because it just seems incongruous with the culture of the club. Like, I can't describe it. It just doesn't feel right. And I think the same thing with Marco Silva. Like, I just think there's an incongruity there. I just don't think his personality matches what we need. I agree with you. I don't think he has the sort of social heft of someone like Alonso to command the respect. And I just think it would be another sort of 12 to 18 months and then he's out the door and you're in the same position. Are you broadly in agreement? I can see you thinking there.
To be honest, I've never thought about that with the English manager thing.
When you think about it, like Chelsea's club culture is 7 or 8 Italian managers. The idea is to win basically immediately. And I think that the nature of Chelsea fandom is more akin to a Real Madrid type thing, which is fans need to be motivated off their seat. I think fans want to be excited by difference, by new objects, by something that feels sort of outside of the standard that you see in the Premier League. And I think that there's nothing wrong with English managers, but I just think they're incongruous with Chelsea. It's the same. I always think of this with Pickford, right? Because Pickford was linked with Chelsea for a little while. And I think Pickford's a really good goalkeeper. I rate him. I respect what he's done at England highly. But if you were to put Pickford in a Chelsea shirt, it's disaster. And there's no reason why it should be a disaster, but it would just be so poor. Like, I just don't think I even have this with Alex Scott, that midfielder at Bournemouth. I rate him highly. I think he's a very technically gifted player, but I think the cultural fit at Chelsea is kind of wrong. I just don't think.
I kind of get. I've never ever thought about this, but I kind of get what you're saying, in the sense of like, personality-wise, the players and managers should be almost nasty, like almost fearsome.
They need to have a sort of. I think what you're getting to there, or maybe what we're both getting to, is I think they just need to have like non-British sensibilities to a certain extent. Like,
yeah, at the same time, I don't know if it's a British thing. I think it's more of a personality thing. Like, I think you find those types of players and people in every nation, every country. Yeah. It's more the same way, like, you can find English coaches and managers and players who have got that kind of like nasty
Jamie
side
Vardy.
to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are English players like through the years who I think, and managers who would be a good fit for Chelsea. I get what you're saying, and I
Well,
do
do
see
you
that
know what
school of
though?
thut, but I think it's a personality thing, not
Yeah, I think that's
a
fair
country thing.
because like I would be pretty happy if with Elliot Anderson at Chelsea, for example. I don't think it will
Yeah.
happen, but I think like stylistically, he probably gets past the sort of
Yeah.
incongruity that I'm pointing at, whereas someone like Pickford maybe not. Lloyd, to change the topic a little bit, we've had quite a few questions sort of broadly towing the same line. I'll read a couple to you and then we'll get your thoughts. So I'll say thank you to Mike, Jonathan, and a few others for getting these in. So Mike says, hi guys, very short question this time. Considering what has gone on with Chelsea over the last 4 years, what is the genuine impression in the football industry of our ownership model and sporting directors? I keep hearing Matt Law say that they're respected and have good relationships across football, but is this really the case? And then Jonathan goes on to ask, despite what the club are saying in public, do you know of any moves behind the scenes to sack the sporting directors and appoint a proper director of football? If reflected in any other business, this would trigger an emergency meeting of the board and heads would roll. So I guess this is sort of leaning into, Lloyd, the general discomfort around the multiple sporting directors and the structure and the hierarchy that you intimated earlier. Thoughts, feelings? Are you hearing anything? Because seems quiet.
Can I do one at a time? Can you ask me the
course.
first question again?
Yeah. So the first question would be, what is the genuine impression in the sort of football industry of Chelsea's sort of ownership model and hierarchy?
I think that is, I don't want to speak for other journalists or other people involved in football, but I think there is the divide of people around me and people that I speak to is almost reflected by the general public, and I think that's found quite often in media and in sport, where the people that you would deem to have authority in these spaces in football or whatever it might be generally reflects the opinion of the general public, where there is a massive divide. And on one hand, there's a school of thought where, these people, there is a genuine chance that they know better than we think, that they obviously have these ideas and plans that they want to execute. At the same time, there are a lot of people who can see what is happening in front of their eyes, that the team is in turmoil, that it's been 4 years, that it still feels like there isn't really a plan, or it feels like there's not been this kind of period of self-reflection yet. Like they say they're going to have that this summer, but it's felt like until now, it's felt like we're just going to stick with this and see where it goes, and we're going to consistently kind of keep trying the same things, and now it hasn't worked. I think the end of this season is going to mark some form of, like, it has to mark some form of change in the model. And yeah, I would say that, like, the opinion of people in sport is generally pretty reflective of the fans. Like, certainly my view and the people that I speak to seems pretty reflective of the fan base, where people aren't sure what's really going on, but they know that what's going on is not good. And then to come on to the whole, like, obviously we haven't really discussed this, but the whole Strasbourg thing, anyone I've spoken to that about is in complete agreement with me that it's just not good for football. Whether it works for Chelsea or not, it's bad for football. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah, multi-club ownership is certainly problematic for football. And I think, again, like, what I'm gleaming from what you're saying is to maybe answer or to maybe address one of the questions directly about the way that the football industry respects or views the ownership model at Chelsea, as I'd imagine that, like, when you look at the sporting directors, they probably do have quite a high level of respect in the industry of sport and football.
Yeah.
And I think that when you mentioned there with Strasbourg as well, and I've spoken to Strasbourg fans and had a Strasbourg fan. We've got Strasbourg fans planning to come on here, and we've spoken about protests because they've had Blue Code protests, and I know we've had them here. Is that the multi-club ownership is problematic. The sporting directors individually probably have a fair amount of respect in the sort of business of football world, but the model at Chelsea to sort of bring them all together in quite a strange way is probably, like you say, Lloyd, probably viewed as maybe bizarre because you're not actually seeing the benefits of it on the pitch necessarily. Although maybe some of the bookkeeping has been tidied up slightly, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I imagine the world of football thinks Chelsea's kind of bizarre, but I don't know whether that's anything particularly new. Lloyd, I'm aware of time, and I know that you're actually in the office, so thank you for giving us some of your time. I wanted to ask you some questions around transfer rumours, and again, a sort of balance between the journalist and the fan in you. Have you seen any interesting transfer rumours recently? I know that there's been sort of João Pedro rumours to Barca. I've seen this morning that Wesley Fofana could be off to Barcelona, which would obviously cheer me up massively because I'm not a fan of his. I don't know whether you are or not. And then I suppose the other half would be, who as a fan would you like Chelsea to sign?
In terms of the two you mentioned, I've heard absolutely nothing about João Pedro to Barcelona other than the rumours that you kind of see on social media. But to my knowledge, that's not happening. I think for that to happen would be a disaster for Chelsea, and B, I don't think Barca would spend the money it would take to pry him from Chelsea's hands. I mean, Chelsea would be asking for ridiculous money to sell a 15-goal a season striker who is, without him, God knows where they'd be this year. Fofana, again, I'm actually trying to figure this out myself. I'm supposed to be speaking to his agent after this. So if there is any update there, then you'll hear it from me.
Follow Lloyd on Twitter and you might see. Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully I'll speak to his agent and find out. But again, don't believe everything you see unless it's from a reputable source. Like, these things will consistently come out over the next few weeks and over the summer. Try and read between the lines as to where they've come from, who's reporting it, where you think that information is coming from, where they've got it from. Generally, I think people know who's somewhat reliable and who's not. In terms of who I would like Chelsea to sign, a new centre-back is absolutely the priority for me. In terms of who I would like that to be, it's hard because I don't know who's... the thing is, it all depends. Like Cole Palmer said, he said everything changes if there's no Champions League. Now there's more than likely, barring some miracle, there's going to be no Champions League. So I think that massively limits who Chelsea can get. If they were in the Champions League, I always had this thing of I would have loved Marquinhos, but not that that was ever linked or whatever, but I would have just loved him. I think he would have been great. I think also Chelsea tried to go and get Van Dijk. Didn't happen, but I think, again, kind of experienced leader. I would have absolutely adored Virgil van Dijk at Chelsea, but again, didn't happen. It's now not going to happen because he will be playing Champions League. And I think then you're looking at kind of the Premier League experienced defenders, the likes of maybe a Murillo from Nottingham Forest, Senesi at Bournemouth, even a Nathan Ake, someone like that, it's going to be a drop in quality from the players you would be targeting if you're in the Champions League. But I think Mario would be decent signing. He, to me, has a bit of Chelsea about him. I think he's good. Um, Midfield depends if Enzo Fernandez goes or not. If he does go, I think Elliot Anderson would be a brilliant replacement. But again, I don't think Enzo Fernandez will leave. And then left wing, well, uh, they need to do something about the left wing position.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you don't say. Yeah, you don't say.
The fact that Jesse Derry against Forest was the best player on the pitch is a sad indictment on the rest of this Chelsea team, but also a sad indictment for Alejandro Garnacho. The fact that fans were far more impressed with Derry than they have been by Garnacho this season. And not an indictment on Derry. I think he's a brilliant young player, but he absolutely should not be the best player on the pitch by any means.
We hope we obviously wish he has a very, very speedy recovery as well.
Yeah, of course. And from what I've heard, he's okay and he's going to recover just fine, which you love to hear.
But you are right, there's £90 million of left wingers in Garnacho and Gittins, and Derry's better than both. So it's.
And obviously, Giovanni Kenda will join next season. Again, another, from what I've seen, brilliant young player, but does he bring the experience enough? I would love a Barcola. I like Bradley Barcola a lot.
I would give Rafael Leao a shout as well if AC
Milan. Yeah. I just don't know if these players, like, why would they want to come to Chelsea? I don't see it.
I think, like, but again though, if you take a step back of the stuff now, like, Chelsea are shambles, but things have always been not shambolic, but there's been tension at Chelsea for a long time because managers get sacked or players come in and out. But, like, we are still in a cup final, and players come to Chelsea to collect one or two moments, really, maybe a few more if they're lucky. Like, if you're Rafael Leao, you've won everything in Italy. I'm fairly sure he won the league with Lille in France. He might not win the league at Chelsea, but he might be able to come to Chelsea, win a domestic cup or two, or lose a couple of finals, which tends to be the way Chelsea do things, and maybe play Champions League football, live in London. Like, I think Chelsea still has massive appeal.
Yeah.
And I think, for example, if we go back to what we were talking about earlier, if Xabi Alonso were to sign as the manager, I think then you probably would have players willing to maybe offset a year in the Champions League to work with him. So maybe, but
yeah,
I do agree with you. The Barcola would be amazing, but why would he join? Or like Rafael Leao would be great, but why would he join? So it's hard, right?
I just think when you have, like, all these players we're talking about will have Champions League offerings from other places. Mm-hmm. So to me, it seems a bit like, why would you not go to one of those clubs? But there is, like you said, there's always that thing of, right, this is Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Historically, we've attracted players that we shouldn't have attracted given where we've been at. So never rule it out. If I was to choose, I would maybe say Barco. There's so many players that I would love, but they're just out of reach for Chelsea now, which I find incredibly sad. But maybe Barcola, Murillo, and Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, nice. I think fans would be broadly happy with that, to be fair, especially
maybe Matheus Fernandes from West Ham. I quite like him as well.
You like him, yeah. Do you know what? I did think, I said it on the pod a few weeks ago, that if Fernandes does leave, if he goes to Real Madrid, I would probably just buy Camavinga, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Camavinga I like as well. I like because he's versatile, also can play left back.
Yeah, and I think he would start alongside Caicedo, albeit he's a different profile to Enzo, but yeah, whereas Elliot Anderson's just going to moonwalk into Man City's midfield, I fear. Right,
yeah,
Lloyd.
I like Camavinga, actually.
Yeah, it's good. And, it's going to be 50 million, so you send Enzo there for maybe 80 million, 50 on Camavinga, 30 in the bank to put on maybe Van Hecke or Murillo or whatever.
Oh, I forgot about him as well. I think he's all right.
Yeah, I think he's good. I would even see if we could get Ruben Diaz in or something, bit of seniority. Doesn't have to play every game, but I'd rather him be a senior figure than Tosin, respectfully. So,
John Stones.
Yeah, again, but
Just
he's
injured all the time though.
He is injured, but he's an English player. I think would work at Chelsea. But yeah, I'd be fine with that. But the options feel a little bit dismal sometimes. It's not necessarily the.
I was always a campaigner for Harry Maguire.
Were you? I think I'd rather Branthwaite just because he's younger, I suppose.
Yeah, when a couple years ago, I think we were quite strongly linked with Maguire, and I like in a back three. I don't know. I just liked Maguire for some reason.
But I don't think there's anything to be embarrassed about. I think Maguire's a genuinely high level football player, and
but he's better than what we got. There's no doubt about that.
Other than Colwill, he's
Colwill,
better than what we have. Like maybe that's harsh on Trev. Maybe not actually. How are you feeling will you be in attendance for Chelsea Liverpool or will you be watching from home?
No, I'll be watching from home.
Yes, I wasn't.
Behind the sofa, probably.
You reckon it's going to be a tough game?
Well, every game's been a tough game. For the past 6 league games, we haven't won, so...
So we're expecting it to be a tough game, are we? Do you think Chelsea will win? Or I don't think they're going to win, so...
No. I thought we were going to win against Forest.
So did I.
That has really taken everything from me in terms of optimism. And I would consider myself a very optimistic person and fan. But I have nothing left anymore.
Like Ian Beale, bless you. I mean, to be fair, it'll be... what I don't want, and I think I spoke about this last time Chelsea played Liverpool, is given the left wing has been such a sore point, I think, in Chelsea's, especially in the fan base's imagination of this team. I think we all know centre-back, potentially a midfielder, potentially a goalkeeper, but centre-back and left winger are absolutely needed. And if Rio comes on for Liverpool and scores against Chelsea, I'm genuinely going to have to just go for a walk and clear my head because he is genuinely better than the guys we've got on the left, I think. And it's makes me so sad, man. Makes me so sad.
We've got players in the academy that are better than the players we've got.
I agree. I don't see why we're not using them, to be fair.
But, you know, I admired McFarlane for starting Jesse Derry.
Yeah.
I would have admired McFarlane for starting Ryan Cafu-McQueen.
Yep.
But, you know, at the same time, I get it because they want to protect these players, right? Not throw them in the deep end when the team's going through a horrible period. But I do think it's a shame that neither of them have been platformed more this season. Maybe if we're in the Conference League, we'll see them more next season.
Yeah, that's true. The Conference League again. Yeah, that's true. Do you have in terms of a sort of lineup and score, do you have what you're expecting to see?
I would expect a pretty similar lineup to what we saw against Forest.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a decision for McFarlane to make. Like, he's got so many decisions that are made for him that I don't know if we'll necessarily see anything different. I don't think maybe Cole will start, but again, I think they'll want to manage him in terms of how quickly he returns. We've seen numerous times in the past, you give a player a half of football and he's fine. You start him the next game and he's off before the 60th minute. They should definitely prioritize his return over needing to win this game.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll probably see a cameo from Reece James, I'd imagine. But again, I don't know if he'll be fit to go from the start, even though Malo Gusto was woeful against Forest.
Yeah, he was.
And then in terms of the score, probably roll a dice to nil, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm expecting... To be honest, I think it's probably going to be 2-1 or 3-1 to Liverpool.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I always struggle to predict scores, but
I'm
Maybe
not sure
a
that
João
Sai.
Pedro goal and conceding 3. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't think Sai and I have got a single score right the entire season, to be honest with you. So it's definitely not easy. I guess like when you look at Chelsea's upcoming fixtures, you've got Liverpool and then City in the FA Cup final, then Tottenham, then Sunderland. So
they almost have to prioritise the final, right? I mean, if
100%.
in terms of you're looking at Colwill and James, I mean, in particular, they should both be playing that cup final.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So maybe you don't risk them away to Liverpool, but it is what it is. We haven't beaten Man City in 13 games, so
we've not beaten them since the Champions League final, right?
Yeah.
This is good. This is the optimism that we were hoping for on the show. Okay. Well, I think given we've spoken about terrible Chelsea at Nottingham Forest, some managerial options, I suppose, a couple of transfer rumours and Liverpool away. We've pretty much covered everything off, Lloyd. Is there anything? Well, I suppose, where can the listeners and or viewers find you? We'll obviously link your Twitter page in the podcast description, but where can they find your work as well?
You could just. This sounds like such a flex. You could just Google my name.
Yeah.
And my stuff will come up. This is my @ on pretty much everything, like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. It's all the same. Just follow me and talk to me, and I'll try and talk back to you. I just like talking to Chelsea fans, so.
Yeah, nice. We'll give Lloyd a follow. All of his information will be in the podcast description, so you guys can be able to get it there, so you can access. Maybe we'll find some interesting things out if you when you speak to Fofana's team later today. Keep up with Lloyd and all the stuff he's doing on Twitter, because it's a growing page actually, which we love to see.
Trying.
And people very warmly responded to you when we said we were going to have you on the podcast. The subscribers did, so it's lovely to see. Lloyd, thank you so much for joining us today. It's very, very much appreciated, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As I always say, turn it up loudly in your car. You will probably see Simon's face at some point on the page. If not, I might see if we can do something Monday to sort of just go over all the talking points from the weekend, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of it. And then next Thursday, Si and I should be back to preview the FA Cup final in all of its glory, as Chelsea look to not lose 7 cup finals in a row. Until then, guys, thank you. Have a lovely bank holiday. Check out Lloyd's Twitter page, Instagram, TikTok. Go and read his content on the Sun's pages and all of that good stuff. Google him. It's a flex. And until next time, guys, have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.